day 5, and what I wanted to talk to you today about is, so I've talked a lot about clean eating and what it means, and some of the things on labels to look for and things you might want to take out of your diet. And so what I wanted to talk today about is kind of some of the things you can add into your diet and those in that place. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the thing we love the most, sweeteners. And so I try not to eat, I still use sugar in baking for my family, and I always have it and stuff. But when I actually go to sweeten things like oatmeal or syrup on pancakes or anything like that, I try to go and not use any sugar, and that's for my kids as well, and of course they will do it sometimes. But so I just wanted to talk about a few of the natural sweeteners and why. So refined sugar is cane sugar, basically, that has been refined, and so kind of all nutritional value has been taken out except the actual sweetening, the calories. And so that's kind of why, and it's just basically sugar. It has no nutritional value. It just goes right to, it has a high glycemic index, and so it's turned into blood sugar quite rapidly. And so, so some of the things I want to talk about, these are some of the things I use. I'm going to show you. So I threw away the bag, so I don't even know if you can see in this very well. But this is coconut sugar. And so when I bake for me, when I make banana bread or muffins or something and it calls for sugar, this is what I typically use in my baking. It can be used 1-for-1 in place of sugar. And so I get it on Amazon, and I'll put some links in the description of places where I find. I get them a lot from my food co-op at Azure Standard, and if there's a drop in your area, they are an excellent resource. You still want to check the prices on Amazon because sometimes it is still cheaper. Like this coconut sugar is usually cheaper on Amazon. Just a minute. So then molasses is what I use a lot too. This is blackstrap molasses. So basically it's the first, it is the first kind of processing or, rendering of molasses. So it has the most minerals in it. So that's blackstrap, and that's what I use. So this is 100% maple syrup, and so it's a good one. It's very sweet, and so you don't need a lot to, dip. Just put a little bit on a pancake. You don't need as much as you would normal artificial maple syrup, but you just need a little, or put it in your oatmeal or yogurt or something. Anyway, anything to sweeten. So maple syrup is excellent. So these are dates. You can see that. Dates are very sweet. In a lot of like granola bars, Lara bars have them. I think Kind bars, they'll have dates. So the more natural, this is what they use to sweeten is dates. And dates are very sweet. You put one date in your smoothie and it sweetens it. So the same category is bananas. I don't have any over here to show you, but you all know what a banana looks like. No. So bananas are very sweet, and so they can be a natural sweetener. You can even use them as a base for like cookies, ice cream. I will freeze bananas and blend them up, and then add a little bit of maple syrup or some strawberries, and it has the consistency of ice cream, and it's very sweet. So honey is another one. Make sure it's raw honey. I get this right from a grower, or I don't know if that's what you call them, but a beekeeper. And so that's, those are natural. It's all more natural, and the vitamins and minerals haven't been stripped from, sorry, my kids are here, haven't been stripped from them. And so honey is very good for you, and it's very sweet. And so it can be used in place. And this is I like this. You can find one that isn't as strong, and so you can use it in baking, and it won't have an overwhelming honey flavor. And then the last one that I use is agave nectar. And so this is, you can use this. We use this on pancakes as well, or you can use it in baking. I think it's 2/3 of a cup of agave nectar is the same as 1 cup of sugar. And so that's another one that you can use as a sweetener. Some other ones that I don't really use, but stevia is one. Liquid stevia, just a few drops. It's so sweet that just like a couple drops will sweeten up a whole batch of a whole smoothie or whatever you're gonna use it for. Stevia is a plant, and it's naturally calorie free, and so it is a good choice if you're trying to watch your calories. It does have a distinctive taste, and so you have to get used to the taste. It is actually what Shakeology is sweetened with, so if you haven't had a problem with that, then you probably wouldn't have a problem with stevia. I think that's, sorry, I have them behind my laptop. I think that's all the sweeteners. So another thing I want to talk about is nuts. So when you get nuts, make sure, so these are some almonds that I had, and I got them in a big box, and then I froze them in smaller bags. But make sure they're raw. You want to get raw almond or nuts, or dry roasted is the best. And then you can add your own flavoring and seasoning, but then you're not having that extra fat and not knowing what fat they're using to roast them in, and all the spices. You can make your own. And so raw almonds, I get pumpkin seeds. This is I use these a lot in my granola, or in my like homemade granola bars. And then raw sunflower seeds is another good one. I do these in granola as well. And then along with that, I also get raw, I don't know if it's raw, but it's unsweetened coconut. And here's some, they have it in chipped. So you can get it in chipped, so there's actual pieces of coconut versus, and then shredded, and it's just tiny. So it's depending on what I'm actually going to use, what recipe I'm going to use it for. I like to have both of them on hand, but it's unsweetened. So just a quick coconut that you buy in the store that's shredded and sweetened, it has propylene glycol in it. I'm not trying to be a big proponent, but I personally don't want to eat propylene glycol. And so, and you can look up that and see what that is. And so I love this unsweetened coconut, and then you could sweeten it yourself. So another thing going along with nuts is your nut butters and your seed butters. You want to make sure that they on the ingredient list, that all it says, I don't know if you can read that, but it says peanuts and then contains 1% or less of salt. So peanuts and salt, that's all you really want. Because see this peanut oil on the top, you want that. You don't want them to have taken the peanut oil out so they can sell that separately, and then they put in palm oil. And so you want it all natural, and that's what you're looking for in nut butters. So an almond butter, cashew butter, any of those types of butters. Okay, so while we're talking about fats, so just a few fats that I use. So coconut oil, and I kind of talked about this. Just make sure it's cold pressed or expeller pressed. This is expeller pressed. And then another one, a good one, is olive oil. That's just a standard. I buy it in these huge containers and put it in a bottle. But see, cold pressed, extra virgin. So another one is avocado oil, which I don't have. It has a high smoke point, so it's good for pan frying. And so those are some good oils to use in your cooking or roasting for that. I don't bake. If I do bake, I do use just regular oil. Okay, so then a few things about grains. Sometimes we forget all the options of grains. You know, we have wheat, and we use wheat a lot, and then rice and corn. And so it's good to have a variety. And so you guys probably have all heard of quinoa. I don't actually have any to show you, but quinoa is like a superfood. It has a ton of nutritional value to it. And it is it's a complete protein, which most grains aren't, which means it has all 9 essential amino acids that we have to get from food. And so animal sources usually are complete proteins, and quinoa is one of the only grains that is. And so some variety this is millet, so it looks a little bit like quinoa. It's kind of reminds me a lot of corn when you bake it, and so that's an option. This is teff. It's a little bit like cream of wheat, and it is actually another one that's very nutritious for you. And I make it like hot cereal, like cream of wheat, and I eat it in the morning as a cereal. And then brown rice, and there's so many varieties of brown rice, and this is my favorite. I don't know if you can see how small those rice kernels are. It is short grain brown rice, and it is our favorite because it is soft, and it's softer than, like, I have some basmati as well, and it's a good flavor, but it's always kind of a little bit hard. And so we like that sometimes. My kids call it nutty rice, but I like this. This is a good alternative to white rice. And we still eat white rice, but just for more nutritional value, whole grains, these grains that have not been refined. So white rices have been refined, and so that's the same with white flour. And so when you can, substitute half and half whole wheat and white flour, or do brown rice one meal, white rice the other. Find out what you really like brown rice in and use brown rice for that meal. These are some different options. I'm not saying you have to do any of them, but I just wanted to show you some options that you could do to add in and slowly add in. Pick 1 or 2 that you want to do. This has been a slow process. As I have learned about it, I just kind of have started with 1 or 2 things and slowly built up my pantry. And so these are things that I order every month from my food co-op or Amazon, and to keep them stocked. So if you have any questions, let me know. I will put some links in the description, then you can look at some of these things that I buy. Hopefully that was helpful. Thanks.